as an educator in both the secondary and university level. And I'm from the United States on the East Coast, Virginia, near Washington, D.C. What are you going to learn today? Hopefully you're going to learn about yourself and your students' personality styles. You're going to be able to discuss the strengths of each personality style, and you're going to learn new strategies to differentiate learning for students. And I'm going to give you kind of the big idea to this, is that students, your job as a teacher, if you could just teach and teach only, your job would be tremendous and easy. But we know as educators, it's not just teaching. The other big component to education is behavior. I mean, we all know coming home from work and you just had a stressful day, not because you couldn't teach the content, but it was actually the behavioral management that was going on in the class. Some school years are absolutely amazing. You have absolutely wonderful classes. And then other years, it's a little different. The teacher, you are not different. The material, the curriculum is not different. It's the behavior of the students and how that is managed. And what we're going to be talking about is giving you keys and insights to be able to do that. John Maxwell says, connecting increases your influence in every situation. And our hope here is to teach you how to better connect with your students so that you can actually control the behavioral management in your class, to be able to connect with the different behaviors and personalities of your students. So we're going to do just a little exercise here, all right? And here is the instructions for this exercise. Hold on for one moment. Here is the instructions for this exercise. You're going to have 60 seconds to find numbers in sequential order.
Participants, ما بدي participants, بدي هيدي.
Hello? Okay, so you'll be able to have 60 seconds to find the numbers in sequential order, meaning you're going to find one first, then two, then three, and you will keep going until you can find the highest counted number possible within 60 seconds. So once again, I'm going to give you a chance, and then afterwards, we're going to put it in the chat. So you're going to find one first, two, three, and you're going to keep going after 60 seconds. So are you ready? Get ready and go.
The game begins in 3, 2, 1.
That's so hard.
Okay, so what I want you guys to do to go ahead and put it in the chat. What was the highest number you found possible? What was the highest number? So Raina put 12. We got, oh, somebody has 88. Name 88. So you found 88 of them in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's impressive. 22, 56. So we have all of these different numbers. We have a lot of them between 12, 18, 20. We have a lot of these different ones. We got a few 88s where 1, 2, all the way in sequential order, finding that. Jana, Samar. All right. Very, very good. Now, here's the thing. All of these numbers seem very, very random to you. All of them seem extremely random to you, often very much like the students in your class. However, if I told you,
The game begins in 3,
if I told you that there was a pattern to this number sequence, then it may make a little bit of a change to it. So let's see this. I draw this line here to make 4 quadrants. There's 1 there. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. Obviously, I think you guys are picking up the pattern here. 6. Now, knowing the pattern that you just saw there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, let's do this one more time to see if your numbers improves. Once again, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going as far as you can go, counting the numbers in order. So we're not just finding the highest number, but we're counting them in sequential order. So let's go again. 1, and we're beginning now.
In 3, 2, 1.
Okay, go ahead and put it in the chat. What is the new numbers that you found? What we're starting to see is the numbers are increasing. Because here's the thing, when we understand patterns, life becomes easier for you. And here's the big idea. All of us are different, but we are predictably different. You as educators are all different, but you are predictably different. Your students are all different, but they are predictably different, meaning there are patterns and ways that we can understand them, which makes our job teaching much easier.
The game begins in.
So let's show how this kind of works out. These are patterns of particular animals. I want to know, what do you think the animal that is on the top left part is? What do you think that animal is based off just the spots? Top left. All right, Raina has a tiger. What else? Top left. What do you think it's going to be? Many of you guys are just saying tigers. Many of you are going with tigers. And it's interesting. You don't see the full thing. You just see a part of it. But because of the pattern, you're thinking it's a tiger. What about to the top right? What do you think the top right animal is going to be? Dog, panda, cat. All right, so we're getting different ones based off Dalmatian. Somebody's put a Dalmatian. Very specific ones, a cow. Yeah. So based off the pattern on the right. All right, what about the bottom left? Bottom left, what do you think it is? A donkey, that's a good one. Bottom left, zebra, a lot of going straight with zebras, very good. And then lastly, what about the bottom right? The bottom right, giraffes. Look, people are going with giraffes. A lot of this is going with giraffes. Very good. And so Here it is. And the person who actually said Dalmatian got it actually specifically correct. But here was the thing. Without seeing the whole picture, you were able, because of observation of certain patterns, were able to differentiate between the different animals. Now, why this differentiation is very important, is because each one of these animals are different. If you approach a tiger the way that you approach a Dalmatian, you're going to be in big trouble. If you approach a giraffe the same way that you approach a zebra, there will be an issue. So being able to observe and understand and differentiate patterns lets you know how that you're going to interact. And that's the same way with your students. Being able to pick up on different patterns, observable behaviors of your students will help you to connect and communicate and teach them a lot better. All right, so we often talk, I use the word differentiation, and we often talk about differentiation in education. Everybody in your lesson plans, when you get your lesson observation, everybody is asking, are you having differentiation in your classes? Now, most differentiation that takes place is at the subject understanding level. We have reteach, on level, and enrich. Based off the understanding of the subject, we kind of put students in different levels, and that's how we do differentiation. There's another level of differentiation when it comes to how students learn, where they're intelligent at, and we call that multiple intelligence. And there are different ways. That's verbal, logical, musical, visual, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. So that's another way to introduce differentiation into your lessons, is through lessons that deal with certain parts of the intelligence. The one that we're going to talk about today is behavioral personality. I think there's someone with their mic on. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is differentiation by personality and behavior. And see, this is very important because, once again, as an educator, your biggest issue is not teaching the material. One of the biggest challenges you have is being able to deal with the behaviors and the personalities that are in your class. And your ability to spot the different type of student in your class and to connect with them on an individual level will transform your classroom and your learning environment. What we're going to be discussing here is DISC. DISC is a form of personality and behavioral assessment. It's very similar to something like a Myers-Briggs or any different one that you've had. This one was created to focus on 4 different areas of the diamond. We call them dominant, influencing, compliant or correct, and steady. And we're going to be discussing and introducing this and allowing this to be able to be used in your classroom so that you're able to connect with your students in a better way. Now, let's watch this quick video that is kind of a cheesy, comedic way of showing you the different personalities of dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant.
Okay, so we've established that everyone is different, right? But here's the cool thing. They are predictably different. We all are. And because of that, we can actually predict how people will act or react in a given situation. Our world is made up of 4 types of people. There's dominant, or the D style, influencing, which is the I style, steady, or the S style, and compliant, the C style. Generally speaking, those are the personality types of the people
I'll
you
take that.
interact with every day. And I'll let you in on a little secret. You're one of them. Let's take a look. We've all been waiting on an elevator and seen the girl who presses the button, steps back and looks at the button again, then presses it again, and again and again. Yeah, that's a D style. She has places to go and people to see. She's probably always in a hurry, so then she'll tap and hold the button, frustrated, thinking she can actually make it move faster. D styles are dominant, direct, and results-driven people who want to control their environment and then do something to make a difference in their world. Now, let's take a look at the I style. She is Talky Talkerton. Once the doors open to the elevator, she's the one who turns around and starts talking to nobody in particular about pretty much anything. She's an influencer. When the elevator stops, she's the jokester who quips, "Third floor lingerie, enjoy your day." Now, not all I styles are cheesy people who tell mom jokes all the time, but you see what I mean. Eyes draw energy from people and love to engage. Now, here comes little Miss C style. She's the quiet one. She's kind of off to the side, standing in the front of the elevator, looking at the plaque that reads, "Maximum weight, 2,500 pounds." She's calculating body weight. Uh-oh, if one more person gets on, we're gonna go down. She's on a schedule, but she's allowed herself plenty of time. She's compliant, she knows the rules, obeys the rules, and wants everyone else to do the same. Look at her, how cute. Enter the S personality. She's stable, steady, and keenly aware of her surroundings. She wants everyone to be happy, and she thinks it's her job to make it so. She's the one holding the elevator door open to make sure everyone who wants to get on can do so at their leisure. Meanwhile, Miss D's in the back huffing and puffing about needing to get to her meeting. The S will even take the stairs if there's not enough room for Miss I, who keeps everyone waiting while she finishes her mocha latte frappuccino thing. Harmony and steadiness are a big deal to the S. As a leader, it's important to know these DISC styles so you can begin to better understand the people around you. It's also important to understand that we are all a blend of these styles. Sure, we can adapt those blends based on our environment or when a specific situation calls for one style over the other. But more often than not, we've all got to accept our DISC and learn to live, work, and play and accept these basic traits. So there you have it. We're all different, but we are predictably different.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Okay.
Okay, now, one of the big things that probably stuck out to you was you saw this dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. And the first thing that you probably thought to yourself was, well, I'm kind of a blend of two of them. Well, definitely you are. Most people are a blend of these. And this is not designed to put you in a box and say, you are a D, you are an I, you are a C. That's not to put you in a box. It's not even to put your students in a box. It's to be able to observe certain behaviors and understand that these students, this person will most likely behave in a certain way and react in a certain way. Now, today we're just going to focus on DISC, but this becomes even more intense or more, I wouldn't say complicated, but expands more because there's blends. There is a blend of a DI or a DC, and they have different personalities along with it. Now, when we talk about not putting you in a box, I don't want you to say, well, I'm a D and I. Which one do you feel is the one that you are in certain situations? And that's what we're going to talk about in this moment here. You see, our personalities are not just formed in one way. Our personalities come from different things. One is hereditary. It's just you were born a certain way. If you have children at 2 years old, certain behaviors begin to pop out immediately. It wasn't that it was learned, it was just genetic and it pops out. You have some that are role models. For instance, my father was military. Therefore, he was very compliant, a very strong C compliant, following the rules. I developed some of those behaviors simply because my father was a role model in that. So it may not have been a genetic hereditary bend of mine, but because you have role models that influence you in certain ways, you may pick up certain behaviors. You may hear your parents' voice, your mentor's voice, your teacher's voice, and those characteristics or those behaviors that they embedded in you may become part of your personality, even though it was not genetically part of your personality. And here's another one, environmental. Here's the thing. We're not the same person in every situation. The way you are at school may be different from the way you are at home. And that is something that is, with a lot of different personality tests, tends to get overlooked. We're not the same in every situation. Certain parts of our personality goes to the top or to the bottom based off the stressors in the environment. And so the environment may take somebody who was a mid-dominant, but because they get into a stressful environment, all the other ones go to the bottom and the high dominant goes to the top. So depending on this disc, we could say, what is your disc personality at work? What is your disc personality at home? And then what is your disc personality when you're under pressure? When you're under stress, normally when you're under stress, the hereditary, the genetic one is the one that shoots to the top. So once again, this is not to put you in a box, but to provide you an understanding of yourself, your colleagues, and your students to better help you to be able to connect and understand with them. So let's start off with why this diamond-shaped 4-quadrant and what does it mean? So at the top, you have the D and the I, meaning the dominant and the influence. They are the outgoing ones. The influencing one, they have not met a person who cannot be their friend and who they will not enjoy talking to. They're talkative, they love to meet people, and they love to engage and socialize. Dominants, they enjoy talking, but they want talking for results. If they're going to go to a work function, they want to talk business. So they have no problem being in front, giving presentations, but they want levels of results or leadership behind it. They are the outgoing ones. So if you see someone who is outgoing, more than likely you have a D and an I observation there. The C and S's are more reserved. The C's are much more quieter, compliant. The S, steady. They are the ones who, when they kind of warm up to you initially, if they go into a party, they'll be by themselves, kind of looking around, seeing who's going to talk to them. But once somebody engages them, they can become the one who's talkative and chatty and all of those things. But they tend to be more reserved. These are the ones who, when it comes to public speaking, they pass on it. They would rather have the D or the I, the dominant influence, do the public speaking. It's the C's and the S who you kind of have to prod and to push to do the public speaking. They'd rather be in the background. They'd rather be kind of in that quiet background type of role. Now let's talk about the left and the right side. The D's and the C's, the dominance and the compliance, they continue to be task-oriented. They want to get things done. The dominant wants to see results. They want things moved. The compliant wants details and directions, and they want things to be right. They want reports. They are more drawn to things that are task-oriented. So if they had a choice between socializing and doing a task at work, they're going to focus on the task. They feel at home completing and accomplishing tasks. When they go on vacation, they're the ones who are planning, doing the budget, making a list of all the different places they want to go, a schedule at waking up at 8 o'clock and having breakfast and lunch at 11 o'clock. And we're going to go see this and we're going to see that. And this is how much it's going to cost. And they make a schedule because even the vacation, they see it as a task. The I's and S's are more people oriented. The I's are the center of attention. They just love to be around people. The S's, they just love teams. They love people. They love helping people out. So when you go on vacation, the I's and S's are not really about all the things we're going to do. Is how much fun we're going to have, who we're going to do it with. You're going to see not a lot of selfies, but you're going to see a lot of group photos and just enjoying being with the people. And so just being with your family, being with your friends, the I's and S's enjoy just being around people. So their vacation doesn't have to be full of a lot of different activities. If it's full of being with people and enjoying people, it's making someone who is an I and an S happy. They like to work around people. You will find that those who are struggling right now in the virtual environment are those who tend to be I or S's. Because in the virtual environment, you don't have necessarily the connection with people that you normally have in the office, where you go and you grab coffee with them, or you go to and just sit around and talk between classes. You don't have that in a virtual environment. So many I's and S's are struggling with this. I was actually having a conversation with my brother, who is a strong I, and he's absolutely hating his job in a remote environment. He loved his job, same job, doing the exact same role. But when he was in the office, he loved it. Being remote, he is hating it because it's just focused on tasks and not people. So DISC, D-I-S-C, let's go into more detail on being able to see the qualities of each one of these personalities: dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. So we see an image of a car driving. This image defines the D, the dominant. Now, here's something interesting about the dominant, is that it's only 3% of them make up the society. Only 3% make up the population is dominant, which is very good, because if you had people who were all driven by authority, wanting to take control, they wanted results, wanted to lead, we would have a chaotic society. So 3% of the population is very good for this. What do they look like? They seek results. When they are going bowling or playing basketball, they don't do it just for the fun of it. They don't go to the gym just for the fun of it. They go to see results. They're the ones who are writing down results. They want to see things done. They love to be in authority. They will easily try to take control. They will embrace change as long as it produces results. They're very, very comfortable with direct confrontation, either giving it or receiving it. And they absolutely treasure loyalty. Now, one of the biggest fears for them is being taken advantage of, because they want to be in control, and being taken advantage of means that they have lost control. Now, let's take a moment and look at these strengths for the dominant. And I want you to look at it through the eyes of a teacher. It will be easier with as far as for the eyes I want you to pick the strengths here that you think are very good for the teacher. I want you to look at these and see which one of these strengths do you feel are good for a teacher. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Motivates others to action. Excels in emergency, positive, confident. All of them, confident. Motivates others to actions. Confident, positive, comfortable leading, confident, productive, persistent, motivate. All of these things, decisive. All of these things are great strengths as a teacher. Now let's look at some obstacles. What obstacles do you see here that you feel would be obstacles to being a teacher? Cannot relax, insensitive, impatient. So we keep seeing a lot of can appear cold. Absolutely, all of them. Impatient, all of them. So a teacher who has a D personality would have to work with these obstacles as far as a teacher here. So let's look at the next one. Let's look at I's. Influencing. They make up 11% of the population. And their greatest fear is rejection and loss of approval. They want to be the center of attention. They are the ones that when you walk into a party, everybody is standing around listening to their stories and their jokes. It's the teacher that all the students are laughing in their classroom. It's the teacher who everyone just wants to be around because they just make them feel very good. They seek friendly environments. They're always active. They're relationship oriented. They're emotional and animated. They're great storytellers, encouragers. They treasure great experiences with others. Now, they only make up 11% of the population. Once again, that's okay. We don't want a whole population of people who are trying to take over and be in the center of the crowd. We wouldn't be able to have conversations if more than half the population wanted to talk. So it's good that there is 11% of the population that it just enjoys talking and telling. Because if everybody was trying to talk, it would be an issue of going back and forth and nobody would be able to talk because everybody was talking against each other. Here are some strengths. Which of these strengths do you think would make an absolutely great teacher? What are these things? Which ones that makes a great teacher here? Spontaneous, creative, comfortable in the spotlight, optimistic, all of them. Inspires others. Yes, creative, friendly. Absolutely. All of these are examples, friendly, creative. Now, let me ask this question here to kind of see the part to it. Which one of these between the D and the I would make a better elementary or primary school teacher? Those who have a D personality or an I personality? A dominant personality or an influencing personality? Some say a little bit of both. Yeah, some says a little bit, some says a blend of both. Very good. Now, see, the I responds, being around kindergarten, having the kids around, social, spontaneous, creative. Now, let's think of it in this way, and we'll go through the different ones. So you can see the strengths of each one. Now let's look at the obstacles. Which of these obstacles for the I would be a problem as far as trying to be an educator or a teacher? Which one of these obstacles? Go on and write in the chat. Which obstacles here? Pastor said all of these are not appealing to shy introvert students. Yep. Doesn't listen, disorganized, wastes his time. Maha has raised her hand. You have a question to ask. Doesn't listen, impulsive, talks too much, distracted, wastes time and forgetful. And one person hit on something very interesting. Neither one of these appeals to the shy student initially, because these are much more extroverted types of personalities. Forgetful. This I teacher will often assign homework and forget that they assigned the homework. And it will be a certain type of student that you will see later on who's going to remind the teacher and the class that they had this homework. But an I teacher will often forget the assignment. They will often be disorganized at times. The grade book may tend to be the last thing that gets done because they're not task oriented. So let's go to the next one. This is the image of groups. And this is where the steady excels at. They excel, the S type, the steady, excels in the group format. They seek team environments. They're very loyal. They're easygoing, agreeable, evenly paced, good listeners, compassionate. They treasure peaceful relationships. Now here's the thing, notice 69% of the population fits this personality, which is good because you want 69% of the population to like to be easygoing and agreeable. We don't want the large percent of the population to be trying to disagree about everything, trying to talk over each other, trying to get their own way. You want 69% of the population, or the majority of the population, to be easygoing, agreeable, want to work in teams, want to be around other people, and want to be compassionate. So the majority of the population and the majority of your students will be an S, which is a steady personality. Now, which one of these strengths will work well as, and we'll make it a little bit different here. Which one of these strengths will work well with elementary students or primary? Which one of these strengths will work well with primary or elementary? Great listener, routine oriented, close, find an easy way, supportive, team player, very good. So supporter. Now let's ask the question, which one of these strengths would be ideal for a higher level, high school type of teacher? Which strength would be great for a high school type of teacher here? Friendship, close friendship, hard worker, supportive, absolutely, great listener, faithful, team player, absolutely. These are great in that part. Now let's look at some of the obstacles. So take a moment, look at the obstacles. Which one of these obstacles would be detrimental as an elementary school teacher? Which one of these obstacles may be difficult as an elementary school teacher? Difficulty saying no, yes. Not always direct, yeah. Slow to start, need reassurance, resist change. Yeah, it's a lot of change, especially in this virtual environment. Difficulty saying no. Yeah, when those little smiley faces come up to you and say Mr. and Mrs. doing something and you can't say no to them, that can be a big obstacle there. Absolutely. Skeptical. Absolutely. Making a bias towards children. That would be a obstacle there. Now, which one would be a big obstacle for high school students? And this is a critical one when we talk about behavioral management. Which one of these obstacles would be a huge issue for an S-style teacher at a high school level? Resist change, may not speak up, difficulty saying no. Reassurance, they'll take advantage of it. Yes, absolutely, or take advantage of him, may not speak up. Indecisive. Here's the one that is, and the reason why we're going to actually point to this is because 69% of the population is an S, meaning a large population of teachers are S's. The main one, and this really gets down to what we're going to be talking about behavior management, is shuts down in confrontation. If you have at a high school level or even elementary, and a student is confronting the teacher, being rebellious to a teacher, an S-style teacher, a steady teacher, will try to avoid the confrontation. Confrontation stresses an S-style teacher to no end. A steady teacher will avoid confrontation at all costs. And so, yes, the presentation will be available to you. It will avoid it at all costs. They will avoid it at all costs. And at a high school level, elementary, when students smell blood, where they know that a teacher will not confront them, that's when you lose the class. And that's where we're going to begin to discuss and to talk a little bit further into it. This one. I know many of you have to go. You have your Friday prayers. So once again, this is taped for you, and they'll also have access to the presentation. Here we have C's, the compliant. Basima has this right. In high school, you should be able to manage between friendship and controlling a class. And that is a skill that many teachers have a trouble being able to do. Because friendship and controlling a class, that may not be naturally for both people. One person may be able to be very controlling and direct, the dominant, while the S type may be more friendship. And so you may have to learn certain behaviors because it may not come naturally towards you. And that's what we're discussing and talking about today. 17% is compliant. Now, how do you know a compliant person? They seek an environment that honors logic and facts. They follow rules. They're conscientious. They're accurate. They're detail-oriented. They treasure perfection. These are the ones who will make sure that their details and their reports are perfectly done. Their greatest fear is criticism because they want to be right. They want to follow rules. They don't want anybody to be able to say that they did something wrong. They fear somebody telling them that something is wrong. And so for the compliant teacher and student, they have some big strengths, but they also have some obstacles. Let's look at this from the strengths. Which one of these, and see, now you guys are starting to see your different personality styles. Which one of these strengths do you think is great for a elementary school teacher, for a C? Which one? Planner, yes. Planner, orderly, organized, absolutely. Self-sacrificing, absolutely. As an educator, you must be self-sacrificing. Persistent, high-quality work. Idealistic, absolutely. Organized, logical, analytical. These are very, very important. Self-sacrifice carries out the work correctly. Now, what about somebody in high school who is a STEMs, science, technology, engineering type teacher? Which one of these would be great for that type of teacher? Logical, analytical, data-driven, deep thinker, high quality of work. Absolutely. And so what you guys are seeing here is that you're seeing your personalities in different ways. And one of the things I want to encourage you on is that as an educator, you can be great as an educator with each of these personalities. You simply have to accentuate your strengths and be able to recognize and plan around your obstacles. But all of these can make absolutely tremendous teachers and educators. Now here's the obstacles. Which one of these obstacles would be an issue as a teacher?
طب اوكي بس فهمنا البوينت انه حسيته زيادة.
Appears cold, absolutely. Hard to please. And hard to please and appears cold will turn off the students. When a student will look and say, my teacher just doesn't like me. They assume because that the teacher just doesn't like them because they're cold, rigid. They avoid risk, cold and distant, hard to please. Is not it. You'll find often C students, C-type teachers are often in mathematics and science. And you will know a C-type teacher in mathematics in that they will say, you have to do it this way. Not any other way. This particular way. And another student will maybe have a tutor who taught him something else. And a C-type teacher will be like, but I taught you this way. And so this gets into the rigid part of it, is that even though sometimes in mathematics and science, there's multiple ways to solve things, but a C will sometimes focus on their way and their way only because it's been good and they pass that along. So once again, it's being able to see and accentuate our strengths and be able to try to minimize and recognize our obstacles. So Fatima says, whatever you find comfortable, as long as it's correct. And that word correct matters. You wanted to make sure that it is correct there. Now, what we've just done is not to put you in a box. What you'll find is that you're a blend of them. But some of them are stronger than others. And there'll be one or two that this is not me. I am not this at all. Maybe I have this one behavior that I picked up here, but as a whole, I'm definitely not one or two of these personalities. I tend to be a blend of this. Gadir says that we should help them to think outside of the box. Absolutely. But depending on your personality, outside of the box can be risky. See, I'll tell you this, helping to think outside the box goes with an S or an I will more than likely do that. A D will say, as long as you get the results. A dominant will say, as long as you figure out the answer, I'm fine with it. Just get the results. A C, you need to do it this way. And so it all kind of depends on the personality. Now here, we kind of did an overview on the DISC here. But here's why you're here, is how can you better connect with your students? And one of the things that a motto that I live by when I was an educator is, students don't care how much I know until they know how much I care. Students do not care how much I know until they know how much I care. And caring is about connection. And each one of these students, each one of these personality types need to be connected in the appropriate way. You cannot connect with a dominant D style the same way that you connect with an S study. Connection is the role to connect with you. It's the role of you as an educator to connect with them. And the strength of your behavioral management comes into your ability to connect with your students in a way. If you fail at the task of connecting with your students, you may have a lot of trouble when it comes to behavior. If you spend time connecting with your students, you will find the fruit of it in a well-behaved class. Now, here's the issue. I can talk about this, but I know you guys are under pressure with pacing and curriculum. You have all of this and you're saying, all right, you want me to connect, but I have to teach material and I have 20, 30 students in class. And what we're going to show you is kind of an example here on why connecting is very, very important. So unlocking a child's potential and setting up for future successes is dramatically impacted by their ability to experience connection and understand their natural strengths, behavioral styles, and motivation. Absolutely, Melissa. Once you connect, your task becomes easier. Now, here's a graph here. We're going to go through a hypothetical situation. Imagine you're in a classroom of 30, and I know you teachers are having a heart palpitation at the thought of having 30 students in a classroom. But let's imagine a classroom of 30. Now, using the percentages that I gave you, you can expect in a classroom of 30 that you're going to have one purely dominant student. You'll have about 3 I or influential students. You'll have about 5 correct, compliant students. And you would have approximately 21 steady students who are agreeable, who will listen, who will be helpful. That's what you would have. Now, based off of this percentage, you should have a pretty good class. The majority of your students are quiet. The majority of your students want to be helpful. They want to agree. You have students who want to follow rules. Your class should be absolutely amazing. But as an educator, you know that's not the truth. And I've said, I don't think the percentages are not quite correct. And there is a reason why these percentages are not quite correct. Here, this is how your class should be. It looks like it should be steady. You should have compliant students. And your class should be calm and quiet. However, that's not the case. And there is a very, very, Melissa said that's a perfect class, but there's a very big reason why. And here it is. Although the S's and C's make up the large majority of the class, the D and the I have the most influence in the class. So that one D student and those 3 I students, they have more influence over your class than the other 26 students that are in your class. So even though they're small in number, they are large in influence. And here's the idea. The dominant student is the one who will take control of your class. The dominant one is the one who's going to lead. The dominant one is going to be the one who's going to be rebellious under pressure. The dominant one is going to be one who may bully the students to follow their direction. That one student has a disproportionate effect on your class. The influence, the I student, is the talkative one. That's the one who's raising their hand, talking to a person. So if you have your students in groups, that one I student is influencing every student that's around them. You put an I student in the middle of your class, their proximity to influence behind them, around them, in front of them, they have total influence of the whole class because you have them in the middle. They talk to people, they talk back to them. The D's and the I's, they have disproportional influence in your class. And so Melissa said, what if you have 3 or 4 D students in a class of 12 total? Absolutely. So here's the thing, what happens. So you have these D's in your I's. But here's what happens if you don't connect with them. Therefore, only 1 of 4 students should display disruptive behavior in class, like disrespect and excessive talking. That should be the case. Only 1 to 4 students in the class. And you're like, that's not the truth. You're lying to me. I'm in my class, half my class is talking. And here's the reason why. Steady and compliant students tend to be the most behaved students in your class. They tend to be. Unless steady students are forced to choose between loyalty between their D and I classmates or the teacher. You see, this big green area, this S area right here, this big green area, these students are up for grabs. These S students become like I students if you don't get control of your D and I. These S students, now, if you don't control and connect with your dominant and influencing students and make a connection with them and get them on your side, over half your class will begin to exhibit traits of an I student. They will become very talkative and influencing. And all of a sudden, all of this green, wonderful class that you have here, now this green all turns to yellow. And so now the majority of your class is now misbehaving. The majority of your class is now talking and being disrespectful. Now, here's the good thing. That little 5, those C's right here, they will stay the same. They'll be the only 5 in your class who pays attention. The rest will all be yellow. You see, steady students, they treasure loyalty. They treasure friendship. They want to be loyal to you, and they want to be loyal to their friends. They're the ones most susceptible to peer pressure. So if a D or an I classmate peer pressures them and they want to be liked by them, they can turn on their teacher. They don't want to turn on their teacher because they want the teacher to like them, because it's important for them to be liked by their teacher. But if they notice that the teacher's lost control of the class, why am I going to be loyal to the teacher who's lost control of the class? I'm gonna enjoy my I friends, and all of a sudden your whole class is there. And so here's the idea, and this may seem strange to you guys. You have to win over your D and I students. So, and Ishwan said, this is the hardest role of the teacher. They want to save their friendships. Absolutely. You have to win over the D and the I. If you win over those 4 students, if you make a connection with those 4 students in the class, and you cultivate that connection over time with those 4 students in the class of 30, you will find that the students will all of a sudden, the rest of them will follow their lead. Now, in a virtual environment, that's actually hard. It's hard to kind of find out who the D's and I's are in a virtual environment. But I often, when I would come into a class, I would identify my D's and I's very quickly, particularly my D student. I would pull them to the side outside the class, and I would begin to make connections with them. And you know what would happen? I wouldn't even have to manage the class. My D, dominant student, would manage the class. If one of the I's started to talk, my dominant student would tell them to be quiet. What would happen is because the D, I had earned the trust of my dominant student, and my dominant student actually exerted the influence over the rest of the class. The I student, I connected with them. If the I student liked me and I made it fun for them and I found ways to negotiate with them where they got the things that they wanted, they would make sure that my class was quiet. They would talk if I gave them time to talk in certain environments. They know they could trust me that I would give them time to socialize. So they wouldn't disrupt my class in this way. Absolutely, Nora. They will motivate the class to be responsible. So focusing on these 4 students hypothetically in a class of 30 will affect. So sometimes it's hard to tell what type of students you have if you haven't really connected with the D and I, because your green could be behaving like I's because they're loyal to the students. So let's talk about how do we connect with each one of these students here? How do we observe and connect with each one of these students? I am a Dr. Seuss fan. I absolutely love Dr. Seuss. So I think Dr. Seuss has a quote for every situation in life. There is a quote by Dr. Seuss for it. So here's one. Kid, you'll move mountains. Well, guess who that is? That is the dominant 3% student. That student, is going to influence either in a positive way, in a negative way, but that this student is going to make a name for themselves. They're going to get results either positively or negatively. You can see it. They are the boss in the class. They are the ones that students naturally gravitate to lead. They are the head of the sports team. You see it. This student is going to produce results in the future. The behaviors that you'll notice, they'll want to take charge. They're extremely competitive. They get upset when they lose. They want to move fast. They're goal-oriented. They lead and organize. I'll often find dominant students, D students, in a very interesting way. So dominant D students taking a test are very interesting. If the dominant student has a good subject matter understanding, they'll be competitive to get a high grade on the test. If a dominant D-style student is not good subject matter wise in it, they'll be competitive to finish the exam first. So you'll find a dominant student who will be done in their exam in 10 minutes, raise their hand and say, Mr. Mrs., I'm done. And you're like, go ahead, take your time, look at it. You have plenty of time for the 60-minute exam. No, I'm done. I'm the first one done. Even when they have to find something to be competitive about, even if most of the answers are wrong and they made many mistakes, they don't want to look over it again, because if they look over it again, they won't be the first one done. So these students tend to be competitive in whatever way. They find ways to make things a competition. They love to lead and organize. Now, under pressure, and when we talk about under pressure, that's social pressure, exam pressure, biggest pressure of feeling like they don't understand. So if a student begins to feel like they don't understand or they're under exam pressure, these are what will start to come out of a D student when they begin, or a dominant student, when they feel like they don't understand or they're stressing about an exam. They'll become resistant. They'll become rebellious, strong-willed, angry, demanding, bullying. They'll make statements like, nobody understands this. Because obviously this is a competition. And if they don't understand, then nobody is understanding it. They begin to try to exert their will on the class not to listen, because if they can't understand, no one else should be able to understand. And This is where bullying becomes a harmful part, but they're under pressure. It's this is how they relate when they're under pressure. And as a teacher, as an educator, it's our role to be able to identify it and to be able to guide and help them. And this is part of our teaching, connecting, and classroom management. So how do you do this? I've written a few things that will help you with it. One, what are they motivated by? Achievement. They need to achieve. You got to give them a sense of making them feel like they're number one. So you find tasks where they can compete and achieve in. You give them something to oversee. Maybe it's the organizing of the desk. Maybe it's the identifying with what student who's going to do what task in class, but give them a sense of leadership. And by doing that, you are connecting with them. You're connecting with their giftedness, and they are trusting that you see them, even if they're not doing well in class. You're still seeing and engaging in their giftedness, that you still see that they may not be the best in the subject matter, but you see that they are a good leader or good at overseeing. And being able to motivate them that way will build a connection to you, which will make them, the more they feel that you care, the more they'll learn. So they'll begin to listen and try to achieve more because you're speaking. You lose your class. You pull them to the side. Yes, Nora, turn their behavior into helpful leadership skills. You pull them to the side. And I use one of these three statements. I start off with, I like that you're very confident in yourself, but I want you to give a little bit more time with taking your exam. I like that you set your mind to something and go after. So what I want you to do is not just settle for a C, but what can we do to get you a B now on the exam? I like that you're committed and decisive. Can you help me to make sure the class stays a little bit more quieter? Can you be committed to helping me do this? You start with something that is positive, and then you follow with the action that you want to correct. This is connecting to their giftedness in this way. Rana says, I try to convince them that it's normal and it can happen with anyone, even me. Absolutely. That's a great way to connect. Let's go to the influencing one. Dr. Seuss says, it is fun to have fun, but you have to know how. And that is what an influencing person, student, they love to have fun. They love to laugh. They love to talk. And your influencing student is absolutely hating virtual class. They're absolutely hating it. Beyond the first part where they were able to show you how the house looked and all the different things that were going on in the house, afterwards, they are not really. Look at Melissa, how and when? Exactly. I didn't put that last part. Very good. They are missing the social interaction in class. They're missing it. And so, in order, says, for example, we can give them responsibility ensuring that their classmates are following rules. That is a great way to introduce that to a dominant student, to help them to take leadership and to get them on your side. With the influencing, they want to have fun. They're people oriented. They enjoy being the center of attention. They're the ones who you can see being a star, a celebrity. People are naturally drawn to them. Teachers remember their names. Students remember them. Their behaviors are outgoing. They shout out answers in the class even if it's wrong. They don't care that the answers are wrong. They just love to shout out those answers in class. They overlook details at times. They make friends easily. They can be emotional, high energy, creative, very, very talkative. I mean, these are the ones who will probably have issues in maintaining the 6 feet social distancing, because they were the student who will go from desk to desk to desk talking to students. The moment you turn your back, this student is at another student's desk talking. That's the I style of behavior. Yes, but sometimes you lose control over the I student, then you have exactly. So I students under pressure, these are the influential ones. They're active, they can be impatient, they can be loud, they can seek attention, even negative attention. Here's the thing, I style students need to feel like they're being heard. They need to feel like they're seen. And so the worst thing you can do to an I style student is for them not to be seen. Because if they're not being seen, they're gonna make sure they're gonna be seen. So they'll start talking just so that you acknowledge them, because they need to be seen. They want to hear their name on your mouth. So they want you to say their name. And if you're not doing it in a positive way, if you're not calling on them in a positive way, if you're not acknowledging them in a positive way, they're gonna find negative ways to get your attention and everybody else's attention. And if you don't get control of this class, the I's are the more likely ones to turn the S's more talkative. Here's the thing, and you guys will be able to relate to this. Many of you are probably S's, but you probably had an I friend who was next to you. And that I friend would start talking to you, and you would laugh at their jokes, and you would start talking back to them. And the next thing you knew, you were getting into trouble with the teacher because you were just responding to the jokes that your I student friend was telling you. And so all of a sudden you're getting in trouble because your friend is making you laugh, joke, all of those different things. And that's exactly what an I influential student will do. They're influential, they influence, they make great salesmen and saleswomen. These are the ones who go into sales positions. They will be able to sell things in the future because they can persuade you and the students. An I-style student, when they get in trouble in class and you say you're going to call their parents, the I-style student will come to you after and they will try to influence you not to tell your student. They'll smile at you, they'll compliment you, and they'll say, Mr. Mrs., I'll never do it again. They'll do all of that with a big smile on their face because that's what they do. They are influential, but you have to be able to connect with them. Here are the motivations. Give them an opportunity to speak in front of the class. They have a need for recognition. So in a virtual environment, you may need to have them read a problem or to give the announcements in class. They have a need for recognition. You will know your I students or your D students pretty quickly because they will volunteer quickly. Your I students volunteer very quickly to do things that are speaking that people can acknowledge and recognize them. Now, if you want to connect with them and to adjust disruptive behavior, you can say, I like that you're fun to be with, but I need you to focus on this assignment right now, okay? I know you're fun. I love having you in my class. You make me smile, but I need you to focus on this. Very good, Melissa. Have them chance for them to explain an object or for an object of the lesson. Absolutely. Another way that I do this is threatening is the worst thing you can do, Nora. Exactly. Because threatening makes it a competition between you and them. And now the class is the democracy. And you never want to put yourself in that situation. I like that you are a friendly person. I love, and you can say, I like that you're a friendly person. Can you take this new, I like you're a friendly person. Can you help me in this group? Can you make sure that everybody is participating in this group? I like that you're a friendly person. Can you be the presenter in this group? I like your enthusiasm and contagious. It's contagious. But I need you to stay in your seat. Absolutely. It depends on your age group. Exactly. It depends on the age group. I like your enthusiasm. It's contagious. But I need you to not go from desk to desk to desk. You know why? Because you're a leader and people are influencing. And if you're not doing the work, other people are not doing the work. And when other people are not doing the work, I'm not happy. So I love your enthusiasm. It's contagious. Can we get people enthusiastic about doing work? Once again, I'm not having that conversation out in front of people. I'm having that conversation alone. Exactly, Raina. The respect is the key. You must build that respect with these dominant and influential students, and you will see a disproportional effect on the rest of the students. 69% is the study. Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Here are their behaviors of study. They're easygoing, well-balanced. They may not speak up in class. They're agreeable, good listeners, helps and looks out for others, consistent, reliable, and dependable. These are the students you want in the class when they are in their S personalities and not being overly affected by dominant and influencing students. But here's the thing, when an S style is under pressure, they can become very stubborn. Meaning if you upset an S style student, if you make them feel dumb, if you make them feel inadequate, if you make them feel that you don't care, they'll become stubborn. They won't listen to you. They won't, then you will get another behavior out of them. They will actually become disrespectful. They will, you're dead to them because you have disrespected them. But here's the thing about S styles. You can easily get them back on your side. All you have to do is go back and encourage them. So if you've done something to offend them, they may be dead to you for a moment, dead to them for a moment, and they may be stubborn and they may give you the quiet treatment. But if you connect with them, they'll warm back up to you. Yes, ignorance to their reaction and go ahead with them. Yep. They reach out for relationships even stronger. So when they're under pressure, they may become closer to you, meaning they want more tutoring, or they will, when they feel like they don't understand, they may reach out to you more, or they may reach out to their friends more. And they'll go out of their way to keep the peace. So in a group, and people are not doing their work in the group, the S-style student will cover for everybody in the group. And they may do all the work. They won't necessarily tell the teacher that, and so Dura says, I should be fair with all my students. And so when you say the word fair, Dura, what do you mean by fair in this situation? So they go out of their way to keep the peace. And they will not necessarily tell on other students in the group if they don't do their work. They may do all the work for students, and sometimes they can get taken advantage of by students in this case. Their motivation is a love to help and a need for relationships. S students are great for bringing in new students into the class. If you have a new student and you want to get them connected, you assign them to an S student. If you want somebody to help another student, an S student wants to help. You give them roles of going and helping other students to understand the material. They love to tutor, they love to help, they love to, when you are giving them tasks to help you, they absolutely love it and they feel appreciated by you. And so I often say, I like that you're a caring person. Can you help this student with this problem here? I like that you try to get along with others, but don't let them take advantage of you and do all of their work for them. It's important that they understand it. Don't let them just copy your answers. Make sure you help them to understand the answers. Yes, we should highlight in class that we should never take advantage of the help. And so you have to help them to do that, because they're the student who will let the other students copy off of them. So you say, I know you want to help and make sure they get a good grade, but having them copy off of you doesn't help them to understand the problem. So you want to help them to understand. And then here, I like that you're compassionate. It makes this class just a wonderful class. So you need to often motivate and connect with your S students. They need a lot of encouragement. They're the shy students. They have so much potential. And they remember the teacher that was encouraging and spoke to their giftedness and brought them out of their shell and acknowledged the greatness that was inside of them. Exactly. Teachers should be attentive to all styles and solve each problem at the moment. Exactly. Melissa, compassion is not a weak point for a teacher. If you are connecting with them and they see that you're compassionate, you're fine. It's that you can't let it be seen of being taken advantage of. And that is where it goes in between. And that's where having a individual relationship with your dominant and influential students, where you can speak to them and they can see your individual compassion, but also that they must follow your rules, matters in this case. Here's the thing, Dura. If you focus on the I and the D, it won't cause jealousy with the other students. It actually won't. Because your I's and the D's, the rest of the students follow the directions of them. So you're not spending 90% of your times on the I and D. When I say you focus, your C and your S's, they don't want to stand up in front of class. They're actually terrified of standing up in front of class. Now, your C, when we get to them, they don't mind doing problems in front of class if they know that they're going to be right. So here's the thing. You're not just focusing on one or two type of students. You're connecting with all of them. But if you connect and give equal amount of attention, you have 30 students in a class. And here's the reality. You have 30 students in a class. Every day, making 30 different connections along with teaching curriculum is very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. However, knowing that some of them will have a direct influence into the rest of your class will be very important. Knowing that if you connect with an I outside the class or a D outside the class, they will influence the rest of your class to connect with you. And it becomes easier. So your whole class wants to learn, and it becomes easier for you to connect with your S's and your C's. Here, the 17%. These are the ones that are going to be the ideal model students in your class. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed. So these students are going to be the ones who are quiet in class. These are the ones who are going to ask detailed questions. These are the ones who are going to do all of their homework. This is the percentage of the class which we considered the model student. Absolutely. Teach students to accept their classmates. It's okay to make mistakes. Absolutely. You can give equal amount of attention in different types of students, but the quality of attention changes from one type to another. Exactly. So this is not about treating everybody the same. There's a game called checkers and chess. Checkers, you treat everybody the same. Chess, every piece is important, but every piece is treated differently. And if you don't recognize, C students are ideal students for online. Great, Ola, that you got this. Your C students are the ones who absolutely love the online. You hit that on the head. I was going to highlight that. C students absolutely love online classes. But here's the thing, is that you have to choose the different pieces correctly. All of them are essential to win. But if you treat them all the same, you lose out. And that's what we're talking about. It's not about preferring one over the other. It's understanding that certain behaviors are different. You wouldn't treat a dog with the same type of behavior that you would treat with a tiger. You will be more cautious, more alert with the tiger than with a Dalmatian dog. And that is not saying that you're putting more attention to one than to the other, but recognizing that not dealing with a certain type of student has a dramatic effect on your class than dealing with other ones. C-style behaviors, analytical, logical, neat, organized. They'll take the whole time to finish the test. Why? Because they want to make sure they're correct. Even though they may have it all correct, they're going to use up the whole time to finish. They follow rules. They seek perfection. They're detail-oriented. They easily see your errors. They're the ones who are going to catch your mistakes in class. And you'll be saying, this is correct, and everybody's nodding their head, taking notes. They'll be like the one, Mrs., that's wrong. That's the C-style student. They'll catch your mistake. They're overly cautious, critical, pessimistic, blames others. Sometimes they can be slow to complete tasks because they want to be perfect. You want to get it right from the start. And so they may be slow until they feel like they understand it. So like a warm-up activity, a C-style student may be slow to be able to complete that because they want to make sure it's right. And it may take some time for them to think that it's going to be right. Here's some motivation for them. They love to research, analyze, and ask questions. Give them little projects outside of class. They love to come back to you with new knowledge. They love to find out details. So a lot of times you have real world examples, they tend to be perfect, exactly. They love to come to you with details, just random facts about things. You'll find a C-style student, they'll just have random facts about things. And so when it comes to real world examples, you may have them research something about a real world example and they can share it with you. Sometimes they may not want to be in front of class because they don't really like the attention. They don't like to be judged negatively. No, absolutely not. They want things to be right. So whenever you are pointing out something that's wrong, you always need to start with, I like how you always try to do your best, but it's okay to be wrong sometimes because we're all wrong sometimes and we're learning to get it right. I like that you like to be organized, but I need you to start this warm-up exercise right now because sometimes they'll be the ones just getting everything organized and you're trying to do the warm-up exercise and it's 5 minutes. And before the 5 minutes is up, they're still organizing. I like that you finish what you start, but I need you to not just work by yourself, but help others to finish what they start too. So to work with some other people. So this is the way that you kind of connect those type of things. Here's the thing. Connecting increases your influence in every situation. And what we want to do is just to help you out for about 10 minutes, we're going to do an exercise in Kahoots. Online, you may be familiar with Kahoots now. And what we're going to do is we're going to see your ability to identify disbehaviors in students. So we're going to do this little competitive game. And so I want you guys to go to www.kahoot.it. You can put in this game pin, 788-9042. I'm going to switch my screen over there. And we're going to do this quick little interactive activity to see how everybody does with this part. So give me a moment where I switch my screen. Absolutely, Raina. Okay, so here we have it. As you guys go ahead and log in, www.kahoot.it. The game pin is 788-9042. And we're just going to do a few questions just to see how well you're able to identify. And afterwards, we'll do some question and answers. And what we see is there's some debates. So there's a few of you that are saying, let's not just focus on one or two, the others will get jealous. And absolutely, that is a big concern. But one of the things that we'll be able to talk about and to discuss in a question and answer part is that certain students feel attention in a certain way, and certain students need certain levels of attention while others avoid it. So if you call on an S student a lot, they may feel like you are putting them on the spot. And you may feel like you're trying to connect with them by calling on them, but they feel like they may be being put on the spot because they don't know the answer. Or a C student will absolutely raise their hand when they know the answer. But if a C type student, a compliant student, is not raising their hand, they definitely don't want to be called because they don't know the answer and they don't want you to put them in a situation where they're going to be incorrect in front of people. And this is where we get into this understanding of behaviors and being able to do behavioral management. An I student will go to the board no matter what. The I student will raise their hand, go to the board, and get up there and not even know the answer. But just that they're at the board, they're okay with that. And that's when you can have the class help them to answer the question on the board. But they feel no shame going to the board, even if they don't know the answer. An S or a C, a S would have problems with that. A dominant student will write the answer. It may be wrong, but at least they tried, and they'll be fine with that. A C will go to the board, work it out, and if you gently correct them on their steps and tell them they're doing good jobs, they will have no problem going to the board. All right, we're gonna give it one more minute of people joining in, and you can always put in the code later on as we go ahead and start. So when we get to 50, we will go ahead and start. "44, 45, 46. All right, disbehaviors in students. Okay, so this is quick, 20 seconds. Most of you wrote D and I's. The D and I's will have the most impact in your class. C and S's make up the most percentage of your classes, but the D and I will influence your class the most. So far, Anna's at the top. All right, which type of student? So we have different ones, and so it's okay to be able to identify this. You will find that S students tend to be the most helpful, dependable team player. They're the most likely to do their homework, to like to work in a group, in a team player environment. They're the most likely to be helpful. They find worth in helping other people. They want people to be helped. So these students will be the most helpful in your class. They will do tasks for you. They will say, "Teacher, can I do anything for you?" They're the most helpful in the class. So if you have a helpful student, you're more than likely interacting with a S type student. Remember, people are a blend of these. So they can be an I and an S, so they can attribute different qualities to your students. Okay, many of you got this. The talkative enthusiastic is the I. Also, the 3 could be talkative too. The S's can become an I when they get out of their shell. So many of you are S's. When you're around your friends, you are talkative, chatty, and just like an I. So you could be a green one also. The steady could be talkative, enthusiastic. Once they come out of that introverted, shy, they feel like they're comfortable and they know you. But from just a behavioral point of view, if you see talkative, enthusiastic, most likely you're dealing with an I student. Joanna has moved to the top. Okay, here, this student can be slow to complete time-sensitive tasks like warm-up because they want to be correct. So many of you, it's C, exactly. The big word here is correct. Correct is the main driver for them. So if they're not doing something, it's because they don't feel like they're going to be correct in it. Sally has shot to the top. All right, here, absolutely. The S student may not speak up if they do not understand. Now, all the different blends could not speak up if they don't understand, but the S is the most likely. They're the ones who you think your class understands, they're not saying it. So you've taught something and everybody's quiet and you're like, all right, can we move on? Everybody understand? More than likely, the S's will not tell you that they do not understand. The only way is if you individually ask, hey, do you understand? They're like, Mr. and Mrs., I really didn't understand. But they won't necessarily speak up in class. The I's may make a joke about it. You can guarantee you that the C, if they don't understand, they're going to raise their hand and ask a detailed question. The D's will, like, nobody understands. And they'll say, they'll tell you what everybody's thinking. Mr. and Mrs., nobody understands what you're saying. That will be them. But the S's, unless you talk to them individually, they may not tell you that they don't understand. Mari is on a hot streak. All right, yes, the I's definitely need to be able to talk to participate in the learning process. The C's, not necessarily. The C's don't want to talk. The C's, as long as you're explaining the things pretty well, they're fine. If they don't understand something, they'll ask you a very detailed question. But other than that, a C wants the class quiet. They cannot stand a talkative, high energy class. They simply want to hear the lesson without any disruption whatsoever. So they can just listen to you and be fine. I's, they need to be able to talk and participate in the learning process. So I said, Sua came up with a good thing. I think some of you are having some issues with not seeing it on the app. So you can look at it from the Zoom screen and then press the button on your phone for the correct choices for you. This student enjoys independence and wants details. Yes, the correct compliant student, the C student, loves to be by themselves. They hate group work because they really don't want to interact and want to do things by themselves. The D student can often be like they want to be independent, but if they're in a group, they want to be the leader of the group. And the D doesn't necessarily want details, they want results. So the details don't matter. They don't need you to tell them everything in between. They are the ones who won't show you all their steps. They'll give you the problem, the answer, and say, Mister, it's correct. Doesn't matter about all showing the work. Is the answer correct? Yes or no? So the D's they enjoyed independence, but the detail part, not necessarily. But the compliant ones, yes. Very good. So yes, absolutely. This is students can, all personalities have the potential to do it. The one who's least likely to do it, unless they're influenced by other people, is the studies in the compliance. But these are definitely the ones who are more prone to do that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great job. I students, absolutely. Very, very good. Yes. Peace, non-confrontation is very important to the S's. Absolutely. Great job on this. You can see people are starting to kind of connect these ones. And once again, this is just by identification. There are actual assessments that you can have taken that cost. You can find free ones on some of the basic, but this is developing your ability to identify and then relate and connect with them. Absolutely. The I's love to be. This was a perfect one right here. This was actually perfect because both D's and I's enjoy talking in front of the class, both of them. So this is absolutely perfect. That's why D's and I is the answer. Both of them enjoy talking in front of the class. Absolutely. Both I's and S's love to work in groups. D's will if they are getting results. C's absolutely hate working in groups. They will try to get out of, they'll get their parents to try to get them out of groups. C's do not like working in groups. They like independence. Very much so. The I's, they don't pay attention to details. They're too talkative. Sometimes they'll just forget to do the homework and they'll say, Mister, I'll do it later. I'm sorry. Anna is taking a commanding lead. Absolutely, D's. They want results. So they only want to do tasks that are graded. They'll often say, is this graded? It's results matter, and they don't think it's important, they're not going to do it. Now, this one is the most subjective, and mostly C and studies are most likely because of they're relationship oriented. C's will respond in class and one-on-one tutoring. They just want to learn. But the S's may not be performing in class in a kind of group environment. They may get distracted, and one-on-one tutoring will have a drastic effect on their grades because they see that you care about them. You're giving them that one-on-one connection, and it matters to them. And two more, and that will be all right. C's are definitely the main one here, but D's also, if they feel like they can do it better than the group, they don't want to be in the groups. So if a D thinks that they can do this better than the groups, they necessarily don't want to be in the groups. But if they take the leadership of the groups, a dominance will. But C's, by definition, will not like to work. They like to do projects alone, and they would try to get out of group projects. And the last one. Absolutely, the C's will ask the most questions that are there. All right, so we have a winner. Third place, Mari. Second, Sally. And number one, Anna. So congratulations. So we'll see if Anna was actually does she get excited about winning a competition? See what type of personality that is. All right, as we finish up, as we've said, people are different, but they're predictably different. So your class Anna said, yes, I am definitely dominant. So she was happy that she was winning. So here's the thing. People are different. Your students are different when they walk into the class, but they're predictably different. And you can be able to identify based off of their personalities. If you don't treat them differently based off their personalities, you will find yourself having more trouble than you would possibly like to have.